It has been a very long time since I've last talked about Crash. It's been 2 years actually. I got a lot of thoughts. I know it's been a while, but I'm back. I have not forgotten about you all who have subscribed to my channel thanks to this beloved franchise. And I'll try to make this short, but not too short. I was introduced to the Crash Bandicoot series by my cousin Gerard. He had The Huge Adventure and Crash Bandicoot Purple Ripto's Rampage, and I'm pretty sure Entranced on the Game Boy Advance. I know he had The Huge Adventure for sure, and I remember being traumatized by that one frame of fake Crash in Entranced once you are introduced to him after Entropy fails to capture the real Crash. Over time, I did manage to play Twinsanity on my cousin's PlayStation 2 at my late grandmother's home. After that, I kind of forgot about Crash Bandicoot, but that wasn't until PlayStation All-Stars was a thing, and people obviously wanted the character to be in the game. Unfortunately, he did not make it into the game due to, let's just say, a lack of support. Since 2012, since PlayStation All-Stars, since campaigning for Crash Bandicoot to be in PlayStation All-Stars, I've been wanting the series to return for about 4 years. And we got just that in 2016 at E3 when Sean Layden announced that the Insane Trilogy was a thing, and he was also in Skylanders Imaginators as a playable character. My Twitter exploded. I was actually very happy about that. That was a really legendary day for me because I kept telling people that Crash Bandicoot was going to return, and I was essentially the voice for the community at one point when the series was dormant for 8 years and there was nothing new going for it. Kind of like what I'm doing with Bloody Roar now. After the Insane Trilogy, we got Nitro Fueled by Beanox, and then, well, cancellation after cancellation. I'm talking On the Run, I'm talking the Crash Bandicoot game that Spyro the Dragon was going to be a part of that was also going to explore the origins of Aku Aku and Uka Uka as they were as humans. We eventually got Crash Team Rumble. I've done a lot of studying, I've done a lot of research on this whole thing, and it's led me to believe that Crash Bandicoot as a series is dysfunctional. I am honestly sick and tired of the Crash Bandicoot series being a story of being a victim to collateral damage due to corporate embezzlements or controversies. There was a video I saw on YouTube. I can't remember the user that mentioned it, but I agree. Activision simply does not deserve Crash Bandicoot. This IP is not something that Activision should have. I mean, they flexed the fact that the Nitro Fueled sold so many units, and yet we still don't have a PC port. Now, I learned that, according to one of the people behind Nitro Fueled's development, there was no team to make a port for Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I find it kind of strange because you would think that with them, flexing the sales of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, the series would definitely be worth the investment of continuing the momentum that that series has and the success that it has and the continued support that the game would just have from the community overall. Crash Bandicoot as a series is not functional. It's very dysfunctional. The series is going from different publishers to different developers to different owners. It's been like this since the beginning. Sony published the games, Universal owned them. Naughty Dog made the games. Then Naughty Dog stopped making the games because Universal and Naughty Dog's contract ended, and then Eurocom made Bash. Sony still published it. Universal still owned the series. Then Wrath of Cortex came around the corner. That was done by Traveler's Tales, published by Konami in America and I think Japan. And then The Huge Adventure, developed by Vicarious Visions, a new developer, still owned by Universal. I think it was Vivendi though. At this point, either Vivendi or Universal at the time. I know Vivendi came around when Crash Purple was a thing, but Vicarious Visions made The Huge Adventure, Entranced, and Crash Purple Ripto's Rampage. Then Nitro Kart was a thing. That was actually before Crash Purple, now that I think about it. Crash Nitro Kart was made by Vicarious Visions. And then we got Twinsanity. That was by Traveler's Tales Oxford Studios. Another developer. Granted, it was still Traveler's Tales, but a different branch of some sort. Then Sierra got a hold of Crash Bandicoot. Then Radical Entertainment was the developer for Tag Team Racing, Titans, and Mind of a Mutant. And what was almost going to be Crash 2010 slash I Am Crash Bandicoot slash Crash Landed, whatever that game was going to be called. I still mourn about that game to this day. I wish that game released. It would have been heat. It would have had potential. It would have innovated the series. It would have done something really interesting, and it would have been really cool to see what direction the series is going to take from that point on, because it's clear to me that Radical Entertainment, in my honest opinion, was right next to Vicarious Visions, probably the third developer that cared the most about Crash Bandicoot, for being real. If I'm being real, excuse me. I'm not going to speak for everyone else, but that's just how I feel personally based on my experiences with the games and everything I've observed from these developers. Obviously, we have Vicarious Visions come back to the helm of the Crash series with the Insane Trilogy, and then B-Nox helped with Nitro Fueled. I think Vicarious Visions sort of had assistance with that game. But B-Nox, another developer was on that game, and then, dude, they should have canceled Crash Team Rumble. I don't think that game should have came out the way that it did. I'm not going to lie. Considering that the game only released as a shell of its former self and not even like half of what it was meant to be, it's scathing. It's disappointing. It's unfortunate. I really think that they should have invested into a port of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled instead. I think that's what Activision should have prioritized for sure. And I don't know, man. It's just really weird looking at the series, from this perspective now that it's like active again somewhat, but now it's back in this limbo state. It's poetic that I'm talking about the Crash series as it's in this state, because this is the state that it was in before, but except not as egregious, because at least we have new things to play on modern platforms and PC to an extent, but it's still just unfortunate. Crash Bandicoot is that one cousin you really care about, but he always just happens to get into the wrong situations. Excuse me, the series. I don't want to talk about the character. I mean, the character represents the brand, obviously, but y'all know what I mean. The Crash series is like watching that one cousin get into situations that that they're not supposed to be in, but they're not getting into those situations by their own volition. It's just weird. And Crash Bandicoot just needs a dedicated developer. Crash Bandicoot needs a home. I've seen that meme of all the platforming characters, that's dead or missing or gone, or Unk still got it, and and Crash's caption just says homeless ? And it's like, that's actually a pretty simple way of looking at the Crash series as a whole, honestly. Like, the series is definitely dysfunctional. It does not have a dedicated developer, and I think that's what Crash Bandicoot severely lacks right now. It sucks how all the developers have been converted to Call of Duty support developers, essentially. And good on Toys for Bob for going independent, but now Crash is in this weird limbo where Microsoft, oh yeah, right, that's another publisher. So I didn't even mention it, but Activision eventually started owning the Crash series, particularly like right when Mind of a Mutant was published, and eventually Microsoft owned Activision. So now Microsoft technically owns Crash Bandicoot. So, it's just the Crash series just keeps jumping from different publishers and developers. And this is just so annoying, man. You can't sit here and tell me that the Crash series is in good hands. Crash Bandicoot is in the hands of a publisher, a conglomerate that is very financially successful, but probably not the publisher that the series deserves. Or the owner that the series deserves, I should say. It's like looking at someone being in a dysfunctional home, but the potential that they possess, and how great they can be, and they seem to can't get out of it because it's not too much in their control. I know that's like kind of dark, but that's my analogy, and that's how I view this whole situation from the past like 2 to 3 years that have gone by. And that's really all I could say in regards to the series right now. I know I've rambled a bit here and there, but I kind of wanted to keep it reminiscent of my previous Crash videos from the past. Big shout out to CaptainLardNar for the artwork and Square Eyed Jak for the logo. It was in the works for a while, actually. I wanted to get this video out sooner, but things popped up on the other side, so I had to wait, and I'm glad I did. So shout out to my boys for helping me out with this little small collaboration. Yeah, man, I missed the Crash side of my community. I did not forget about you guys. I'll try to talk about the series more often, but I can't promise that it'll be as frequent, but I definitely will be talking about the series as time goes on. I just gotta wait and see how things develop. You know, someone mentioned it, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was a friend of mine. Because of Activision's controversies, that was one of the things holding Crash Bandicoot back from being in Super Smash Bros. Only thing I could really see happening with the IP right now is Crash making it into Cross Worlds. I think that would be dope. That'd be a good little small step in the right direction. But who knows at this point? Anyway, y'all take care. I appreciate you all. Thank you all for waiting patiently, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.